Well, still lots to talk about before 9, including, to talk now about the last storm, Storm Bert, and the devastation it caused, because we've been hearing that some properties, some people living in properties that were prone to flooding were unaware until that point that it was possible they would get flooded. People like Matthew and his partner, who told us that they weren't aware that their rented property in Aberama near Aberdare had flooded before.
The neighbours obviously come out Sunday morning and we're like, obviously, do you mean, oh no, it's happened again? We're like, what do you mean it's happened again? They said, well, that property flooded out in February 2020. The two of them. We were like, are you serious? They were like, yeah. Well, didn't anybody tell us? I was like, no. Nobody told us these properties were a flood risk. So I was like, oh, I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I was like, are you serious?
Well, Matthew's now calling for tenants to be told by landlords if a property has previously flooded before moving in. Kieron Montague is an executive director at TPAS Housing Association. Trivallis, good morning, Kieron.
Good morning.
And Eleanor with us as well from TPAS Cymru, the Tenant Participation Advisory Service. Thank you for coming in too.
Good morning.
So, Kieron, first of all, I think, are you already thinking of responding to this and making the necessary changes?
Yes, we are. We always carry out the lessons learned as part of any flooding experience, and we've never had this request in the past, but as incidents of flooding increase, we need to evolve the information we provide and the way we respond. So we're actually looking at ways that we can actually publicise flooding information as part of the lettings process, which will allow tenants to be fully aware of any risk associated with their property, and then we can support them with any measures we need to take.
Is that a problem for you, that you may end up with properties that no one wants to take? Because if you do, nobody wants to be flooded, but certainly nobody wants to be flooded if you can't get contents insurance. And so are you going to find it hard to let some of these properties?
I think there's a balance. We do know there's a housing crisis, so a lot of people, the demand for housing is massive, and while those impacted by flooding, that is devastating. There is, it's a fairly low number this time round. So we need to make proportionate decisions and make sure people have got the right advice. But alongside that, we are looking at how we invest in our homes to reduce flooding risk. So we're coming up with a plan, a climate resilience plan of how we invest in our homes to reduce flooding risk from a property but also a statewide perspective. And I know there's a lot of investment at a borough-wide level with the local authority looking at how they can improve drainage and culverts. So there's a lot of work going on in the area to reduce the risk but also provide the best quality information to people so they can make those informed choices.
Yeah, and if people can't get contents insurance, might you be open to a conversation about...
Well, we currently actually work with a provider who provides contents insurance for social housing tenants at a subsidised rate, so we do promote that. That's something we will be pushing, because we want to make sure that people take out that contents insurance to protect them, but we recognise that is a challenge for some, not only for those in flood risk areas but those people who struggle with their income anyway. So it's something that we want to really push this year.
Eleanor, this is a welcome move, isn't it? This is a swift response.
Yes, I think as we build more homes in the areas that we can in Wales, as Kieron said, there is a housing crisis going on. We're going to have to see more tenants now which are affected by flooding. Landlords are doing some amazing work to support tenants and communities, but we all know that flood prevention can sometimes fail. Tenants are asking us at TPAS Cymru to now have the choice to make an informed choice themselves. 1 in 3 people rent their home currently, and they don't have the benefit of this being disclosed like a homeowner does. So what we're asking for is for tenants now to have that informed choice to make themselves.
It's one thing not to advertise it and not to sort of put it in the pack. It's something else to not give an answer when you are asked about it. Do tenants tend to ask about it? It's not. I don't know. Maybe Kieron, have you ever been asked?
It's not something that comes up as a matter of course during the lettings process, but actually if we was to provide good quality information, that's something that, we're never against giving people information about their property. That's always a positive thing. But in my 20 years experience in housing, this isn't something that's come up. But actually, what we are seeing is an increased incident of flooding across, particularly around the Kieron that's been hit quite heavily over the last couple of years. So I think it will be something that increases in terms of at the forefront of people's minds.
Sounds like it might be an idea to make this legal requirement. I'm sure you have to put energy ratings and things on things, don't you, already? Should it go in there as a matter of course?
That's a really good question. There's two ways we could do this: change in policy or a voluntary code of conduct, as Trivallis are now looking at doing. Social housing has a great collaborative culture across the sector in Wales, and what we'd like to see is a voluntary change first of all. So we hope other housing associations will follow what Trivallis is doing. But for private landlords, there are some brilliant ones out there and not so great as well. And as much as a voluntary code could be effective for private landlords, we'd probably like to strengthen this with a change of regulation.
Okay, good stuff. Thank you very much. Thank you, both of you, Kieron and Eleanor. That's Kieron Montague from Trivallis, Eleanor Spear, TPAS Cymru.
The time now?